who didn't know what they were talking about, who got so incensed about the situation with Cambodia, failed to realize that there's more to national sovereignty than rights. There are also responsibilities. And when a country like Cambodia chooses to turn itself into a parking lot for North Vietnamese tanks, then they lose that national sovereignty.
That's exactly right. And
well, the same thing applies to Pakistan.
Same thing exactly. That's my point. The same thing applies.
Exactly.
But I don't think that this country has the guts to step up to that and to do it. Because
you have a real question there. That you may be right on that.
Because of the potential of destabilizing the nuclear-armed country. And, you know, that is a very serious thing. Now, you and I could both be alive because we crossed the border in 1968. And that could very well be the case. We wouldn't be having this discussion.
Very possibly. Yeah.
Maybe someplace else on a nice cloud.
You never know. All right, well, we're going to be right back. We're going to talk some more here, and we've already touched on it, but the third part of that shadow world that Mr. Chandler refers to in his book is the radical Islam aspect, and certainly that is very much alive and well out there. 1-866-50-JIMBO. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Jimbo Hannon Show, as we're talking tonight with Robert Chandler. He has written Shadow World, published by Regnery, subtitled Resurgent Russia, The Global New Left, and Radical Islam. Let's take a look, first of all, at Iran, which would seem to pose perhaps the biggest single threat in that direction, outside perhaps of a nuclear-armed Pakistan for the new administration, and mainly because the Iranians seem to be hot on the trail of getting a nuclear weapon. Your thoughts?
Well, they are very much after a nuclear weapon and are liable to have it very soon. And in the process, they're really scaring the Saudis out of their wits and other Sunnis in the region as well. To take a look at this, you have to take a look at the differences between the Shiite people and the Sunni people within the Muslim world. And the Shiite people are only about 10% of the total, and the rest are all Sunni. So what happens is the nuclear weapons becomes an equalizer, and they being the Shiites, have been kicked around by the Sunnis quite a bit for the last 1,400 years, and to say the least, the Shiites have got a fill of it. What we see coming together right now is the birthing of a new nation, culturally in terms of a nation, of a Shiite nation, which has been described as an eagle with a body in Iraq, the Shiite areas of Iraq, with one wing extending over to include Iran, and the other wing extending over Syria, Hezbollah, and Lebanon. And that
although Syria per se is not Shiite, is it?
Right now, the Alawites have been listening to what Iranians have to say, and Bashar, his entire protection squad, everybody that does any safety for him, his secret service, are all Iranians, because he can't trust his own people. The people trying to bring him down include his own uncle, who are trying to do some bad things inside the country. So they are firmly locked up with the Iranians, and they have also been a conduit for supplying arms, and very dangerous arms, to Hezbollah.
Well, that's certainly true about the terrorist aspect. I'm just amazed, I guess, at the extent to which Shia and Sunni can argue and squabble and then turn right around and cooperate up a storm. That I've never fully understood that. There are times when you seem to think that the two branches of Islam hate each other more than they hate Israel, and then other times when it seems like these are minor differences that they can overlook.
Yeah, and then you wind up and you find out that one of Osama bin Laden's sons has been in Iran for several years, running around doing different things. And you know, what sense does that make if you are part of the Sunni world? So. Yeah. I can't pretend that I fully understand the mindset of the Shiite and the Sunni worlds. What I do know is that this new nation that is coming together is one that has the has the Saudis scared, and in Saudi Arabia, of course, because of their oil, they're our Achilles heel in terms of energy. And until we solve our own energy problems inside this country and figure out how to provide our own energy, we're going to be dependent on what goes on in the Middle East, and specifically in Saudi Arabia.
In regard to the Saudi Arabians, what are the odds, in your view, that the Saudi royal family will still be in power 10 years from now?
The Saudi family will still be in power, but it is already rife with many factions, including those that support Osama bin Laden, those that don't, and you have to look down the line to say who is liable to be the next king, and what will the changes be, and what will that mean for the United States and its future policies.
You're saying that there could be an accommodation? I mean, there's nobody on the planet that Osama bin Laden hates more than the Saudi royal family. I mean, more than, I think, than Israel, more than the great Satan, the United States.
Perhaps King Abdullah and those that support King Abdullah, but in terms of others, Aziz, for example, is said to be a conduit of money to Osama bin Laden or some of his support structure.
All right, let's say that either of two things occur here. Let's say radical Islam takes control of Saudi Arabia and its oil fields, or that radical Islam takes control of the government of Pakistan and its nuclear arsenal. What do you think the United States should do in either instance?
If they take control of the nuclear weapons in Pakistan, we have to go in with everything we have and disarm them as quickly as possible.
Agreed.
There is no other thing that is to be done.
Although I've heard people come on this program and tell me that is extremely unlikely, that the radicals, while they may occupy some key places in the military and the intelligence apparatus, but that basically they would constitute a tiny minority, and that the odds of them taking power would be on a par with the odds of some militia group taking power in this country.
Those are the same people that told you it is almost impossible that their nuclear technology would be leaked to other countries because it was under total control. And then we have Qadir Khan, Abdul Qadir Khan, who shared the weapons technology with Syria and other countries.
Okay, briefly before the break, what about if the radicals take over the oil fields of Saudi Arabia?
To take over the oil fields of Saudi Arabia, it's the same thing. This has to be a coalition, though, with all of the users in the Western world to be able to do that. The wild card in this case is Russia. Russia is trying to establish itself as being the superpower of energy on the planet, and they have their eye on Saudi Arabia, just to disrupt it, if nothing else, in terms of the West. And
more to come, and we'll take a quick break here. We've got to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Robert Chandler, the author of Shadow World, after these messages. Welcome back to the Jimbo Hannon Show. We're talking tonight with Robert Chandler, the author of Shadow World, published by Regnery. If you had 5 minutes with President-elect Obama and you had to say, Mr. Obama, you and I do not agree on a lot of things, but I would really like you to consider what I'm about to say, sir. What would you tell him?
I would tell him, with regard to Afghanistan, to make up your mind either to win or not to win. Don't do halfway measures that we've had to this point. And these halfway measures are getting our people killed, and there's no end in sight, and it's not a winning strategy.
Mm-hmm. Are you an optimist or a pessimist about, say, the next 5 to 10 years?
I'm an optimist because I'm optimistic about the center of the American core values, and of the people who really make this country work and hold things together in terms of be patient and make changes slowly and the rest. And those are the ones that I'm praying for, that I hope that they're the ones that will guide us through these troubled times that we're in right now. There's two two reviews on the internet that your readers, I urge them to take a look at. One is by a guy named Stoos, S-T-O-O-S. It's Stoos Views Dangerous Illusions, or just Google Dangerous Illusions. And another one is on AmericanThinker.com. And those two really give a good picture of what the book is about, and this explanation of this new idea of there's a new Marxism, a new socialism, and that the old frameworks that we have in our heads, we've got to get rid of them because they don't apply anymore. You still got communists around, you still got Angela Davis around, and some of the old crowd, but they aren't going anyplace.
Exactly, they're irrelevant.
That's right. It's the new crowd that we
exactly. All right, sir. Well, thank you again. Stay on the line. We'll be speaking with you off air. Again, Robert Chandler is the author of Shadow World, published by Regnery. We've got more to come here on the Jimbo Hannon Show, coming to you weeknights from Westwood One. Hi, and welcome to the Jimbo Hannon Show from Westwood One Radio. We're at 1-866-50-JIMBO, 1-866-505-4626. On the web, well, there we are, jimbotalk.net. So more of the Barack Obama team is coming into shape and focus. As we hear from correspondent Chip Reed, the president-elect has unveiled his new national security team, including New York Senator Hillary Clinton to be Secretary of State.
Surrounded by his national security team, President-elect Obama declared that it's time for a new dawn of American leadership, beginning with his choice for Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton.
Hillary's appointment is a sign to friend and foe of the seriousness of my commitment to renew American diplomacy and restore our alliances.
That's a far cry from earlier this year when this was his take on her foreign policy judgment.
When it came to making the most important foreign policy decision of our generation, the decision to invade Iraq, Senator Clinton got it wrong.
Mr. Obama dismissed that as the heat of the campaign, but even if they are now reading from the same page, some opponents of the war in Iraq question why Mr. Obama would ask Robert Gates, President Bush's Secretary of Defense, to continue in that position.
I assembled this team because I'm a strong believer in strong personalities and strong opinions. I think that's how the best decisions are made.
Other strong personalities on his national security team include Arizona Governor Janet Napolitano to head the Department of Homeland Security. As a border state governor, she has vast experience on immigration. Prominent Washington attorney Eric Holder should hit the ground running as Attorney General. He was number 2 in the Justice Department under President Clinton. 4-star Marine General James Jones will be Mr. Obama's national security advisor, a Vietnam vet and former commandant of the Marine Corps. And Susan Rice, a close Obama advisor, is to be U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. Mr. Obama made clear that he, not they, will be setting national security policy.
I will be responsible for the vision that this team carries out, and I expect them to implement that vision once decisions are made. So as Harry Truman said, the buck will stop with me.
Mr. Obama offered the State Department job to Hillary Clinton only after her husband, Bill Clinton, agreed to a long list of restrictions on his business activities. He even has to submit his speeches to the State Department for pre-clearance.
Chip Reed reporting. And as correspondent David Martin notes, the president-elect's national security team has pledged that America's international problems will not always be solved by military force.
Soft is not a word you would use to describe the people who stood behind the president-elect,
Good morning,
but
everybody.
soft power
I hope you all
is.
had a wonderful...
His choice for Secretary of State summed up what that phrase means.
Our security, our values, and our interests cannot be protected and advanced by force alone.
In other words, the American military is a mighty hammer, but not every problem is a nail. You might expect that from the person slated to be America's top diplomat, but you also hear it from the current and future Secretary of Defense.
We must focus our energies beyond the guns and steel of the military.
But agreeing on soft power doesn't mean there won't be hard problems.
Could be some tactical differences involving Clinton or Gates, given the fact that they have taken positions publicly that are at odds with the president's.
Former National Security Advisor Zbigniew Brzezinski cites candidate Obama's pledge to negotiate directly with Iran's leaders, which candidate Clinton dismissed as naive. And there is, as always, Iraq. The president-elect wants all combat troops out in 16 months. Secretary Gates is opposed to deadlines.
These all are fairly significant differences, but they're not the kind of differences that